What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers, and today I'm taking a look at a company that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of and might be familiar with, might have accounts with, and that is Coinbase Global, ticker symbol COIN, listed here on the NASDAQ. Now, the stock closed here at $65.95, and we look at a year low of $40.83 and a year high of $368.90. So is this sell-off justified? Is it an overreaction? Let's look at some of the numbers, right? So first of all, we come down here, and as you can see here, the last couple of quarters, revenue was $1.17 billion, negative net income, and $800 million negative net income, right? So if we add those up, that's about $2 billion in revenue, and they lost about $1.5 billion off of that $2 billion, right? So the company has, since its public inception, went from 2 billion, look at this, 1.3, 2.5 billion, with very healthy net incomes and profit margins off of that revenue, has since made a U-turn, and in the last 2 quarters here, less than 2 billion in revenue with negative net income. Now, if we look last year, you can see these numbers were phenomenal, right? 7.84 billion in revenue, 3.62 billion in net income. Phenomenal. Now, if we compare that 7.84 billion to the current market cap, you can say they're trading about 2 times last year's total revenue. Okay, fine, right? Might even seem undervalued if you look at it like that. However, if we switch over here back to quarterly again, the business has been taking hits here over the course of the last 2 quarters specifically. 2.5 billion in this quarter alone, 2 billion combined for the last 2 quarters, right? So if they just maintain this level of business, now you're looking at 4 billion for the current 4 quarters in 2022, right? Now if we compare that 4 billion to a $15 billion market cap, you're looking at what, like 3.5 to 4 times current total revenue, right? So if you look at it like that, you could potentially say, hey, it's still undervalued maybe, but at the same time, it could be viewed as overvalued. The one reason why I would lean more towards overvalued is just because the net income has turned negative as of late, and the company is probably going to finish the year, unless they have a massive breakout quarter, with negative net income. So, as we saw with companies like AMD, they received a heck of a lot more volume, a hefty amount of upgrades, and the share price absolutely exploded because the company went from net income negative to positive. And guess what, folks? It kind of works the same way if they go from positive to negative. All of a sudden, you had this great platform with this company that was making some nice revenue and seeing some healthy profits off of that revenue, and now all of a sudden, it looks like the business is shrinking, revenue may have potentially plateaued, people are leaving the platform or potentially just not doing as much crypto trading as they were, a year or 2 ago, and now the company is net income negative. So if you look at those numbers, in my opinion, those are massive red flags. But, switching over here, we say this is as of March 2022. The company owns 9,000 Bitcoins. It might be more, it might be less, but, market value, it's saying 176 million. Even if we call it 200 million. Even if we call it 200 million, based on the current market value, that's like 1.5% of the market cap. Is this company, personally exposed to Bitcoin? So if we do a compare to Bitcoin, because they have all of these companies for the most part trade in line with Bitcoin. Now, as you can see, Coinbase down 73% year to date, Bitcoin down 59%, right? But these graphics do look kind of similar. And, that's one of the points I wanted to make is I know that they trade a lot of these companies with regards to how Bitcoin is trading that day, but also at the same time, as I just showed, like 1.5–2% of the company's value is invested into Bitcoin. So that's not crazy exposure into this cryptocurrency, right? So if Bitcoin does sell off, 10–15% in a day or two, in my opinion, the value of the stock here of this company really shouldn't take that much of a hit. So, on one hand, like it trades with Bitcoin, and you could view it as a positive because they're not that exposed, but they took a big hit, so you could view it as a discount. But at the same time, their business is affected by, you could say, how much money is being moved on their platform, right? So if Bitcoin is going down in value and people are losing money and they're not running as many trades, then that translates into less transactional fees that they're making off of the trades. So, there's multiple ways to look at it, but switching over here to stock charts, I really don't see much. MACD looks relatively flat. RSI here about 46 and a quarter. We switch over here to the weekly. RSI about 40. MACD looks like it's rising over the last couple of months. However, the stock really hasn't done much, and the last couple of weeks it looks like it's been rejecting this mid-Bollinger level of about 67.5. So in the short term, in my opinion, that's going to be your main resistance level. If it gets above that, you could see it run back into the 70s and the 80s here. And if it does keep rejecting, you could potentially see it drop down into the 50s and potentially even the 40s. But I just wanted to show you one more thing here. Again, this is the EPS selling off here the last several quarters. This is the company. This is November 2021. Bitcoin really started to sell off. The company really started to drop down in value. But then they posted this earnings report the beginning of May. As you can see, these numbers weren't really too attractive. The stock took a big hit, ran up going into the next quarter, and as you can see again, the company took another big hit here on the earnings, top and bottom lines, revenue coming in at only 800 million. And again, this is just not looking well for Coinbase, especially here in the short term, right? If we look at some of our numbers here, as you can see, price to sales has come back down to earth. You're sitting at about 2.5, along with the price to book. And I don't want to say it's a value trap, but also at the same time, if you look at these profitability ratios, again, it almost reminds me of like a Snapchat, how we showed the numbers dropping down along with the share price. And this is what we're seeing here. Return on assets, healthy, positive, jump down to negative. Return on equity, same thing, drop to negative. Return on invested capital goes negative. Gross margin has basically maintained this level, but at the same time was significantly higher, several quarters ago. Operating margin has dropped negative. EBITDA, once again, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, has turned negative. And as I showed with the profit margin there, their net margin percentage has turned massively negative. And again, annually, it looks nice, but if you switch over to quarterly, these graphics look absolutely horrendous. And if this company stays on the path it's on now, again, they're going to bring in, maybe if they're lucky, somewhere between 3 and 4 billion for the year in revenue, when they had quarters where they brought in 2.5 billion and profited 34% off of that income. So this, we talk about the stories from rags to riches, and I don't want to say this is going to be riches to rags, but at the same time, you can tell that the company is struggling here. And long term, again, it could turn around. People could jump back into the crypto market, and they can start earning more revenue off of more transactions and earning their fees. But also, at the same time, looking at these current numbers, going net income negative, you have the price of Bitcoin selling off. I feel like when I speak to younger investors and traders who, made this their focus in 2020 and 2021 after the pandemic, a lot of those people have lost a lot of their assets in this very uncertain market here, especially in the last 12 to 18 months. And more importantly, a lot of people who started with their stimulus checks and their stimulus money, again, they have been taking hits and they have lost a lot of their value. right? So if you invested into a bunch of crypto and now it kind of went belly up and you lost a significant portion of those assets, you're probably not running many trades. And you're probably just, sitting on your hands, or perhaps you went away from the investment market and now you went back to, operating a small business, or, you just seek some employment, part-time, full-time, just to generate some income for the time being. So, if that's not the main focus as it was 9-12 months ago, obviously, again, if there's less trades being put in, the company's going to earn less transactional fees, and, it's going to start hurting the revenue and the income off of that revenue. So, we'll leave it there. But, I could be right, I could be wrong here. In my opinion, overall, I don't think I would be a buyer of Coinbase here at $65.95. I do think that we could potentially pull back into sub 50 and, maybe somewhere in the mid to low 40s, approaching that 52-week low. I would consider stepping back in and taking a position. But, we can check back in a couple of weeks and we can see if I was right, if I had no idea what the heck I was talking about, completely messed it up. Right? We're all only human. But we'll leave it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Just like everyone on YouTube says, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps out the algorithm, helps bring a couple of more eyes here on the channel. If you appreciate the content I'm putting out, push the subscribe button, little bell notification. That way it tells you every time I put out new content so you can stay up to date with us here. And, like I always say, I do know moving forward that the markets are rocky, they're uncertain, they're volatile. So I do wish everyone success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.